Chapter 130. Boom, 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 boom. Although it was only a single kick, it gave people a feeling that it was continuous and fierce. The kick was launched towards Lu Hanshan, but Lu Hanshan remained perfectly still. He reached out both of his hands and merged a large amount of yuan qi into the purple mist, forming a huge millstone that blocked the volcanic kick. In the next moment, dazzling purple light and red light burst out, so dazzling that people couldn't even look at them directly. Followed by a thunderous boom that even shook the surrounding space. He blocked it. Lu Hanshan blocked it. Judging from the situation just now, Lu Hanshan has reached the 9th level of the purple extreme art. No wonder he is confident enough to fight against Ouyang Ming. Even the former young master Hanshan has started to show his power. He will never allow anyone to take away his title. Indeed, Lu Hanshan is a powerful man after all. Even if he is temporarily left behind, he can still last longer than ordinary people. Although most of the people were slightly surprised, they were not too surprised. After all, young Master Hanshan was a famous man. Not to mention that Ouyang Ming wanted to force Lu Hanshan back with only a single kick. But they still didn't know how much of Ouyang Ming's power had actually been released. Lu Wuxiang, who had fought against Lu Hanshan 3 times before, smiled and thought to himself, I only used 80% of my power back then, but now you are qualified to be on the same level as me. The head elder of the Purple Sun Martial School had a gloomy look on his face. He thought that Ouyang Ming would be able to easily defeat Luo Hanshan, but he never thought that Ouyang Ming would suddenly regain his former glory. Although Ouyang Ming's cultivation hadn't improved by much, his purple extreme art had actually broken through to the 9th level. Fortunately, it was not the peak of the 9th level, otherwise, he would have been able to control the purple lotus and would have been undefeatable, unless there was a huge gap between their power levels. The Sky Cloud Martial School has started to rise. Another Purple Sun Martial School elder said worriedly. Snorting coldly, the head elder of the Purple Sun Martial School said through his Jinqi, Zhu Liang has already planned to kill that kid named Yi Chen, but he was lucky and escaped this time. But next time, he won't be so lucky. Let him kill Luo Hanshan as well, that'll be the end of the Sky Cloud Martial School. We'll make sure that the Sky Cloud Martial School will never be able to rise again for the rest of their lives. Indeed, once the Sky Cloud Martial School rises again, they will definitely come after us. Therefore, we have to kill them all. The voices of the two converged into a single line, and did not spread out. However, Yi Chen could sense that chilling killing intent. These 2 old men must be up to no good, I wonder if they are targeting me. Yi Chen's eyes landed on the battlefield as he started calculating. He was quite confident in his senses, as long as someone showed a slight hint of killing intent towards him, he would be able to sense it. However, as a late clasping Yuan Realm warrior, he was still quite powerful. That layer of killing intent only flashed for a second before it disappeared. Smiling bitterly, Yi Chen shook his head silently. He was still. He was at the bottom of the Wind Martial Nation. He could only protect himself after he reached the clasping realm. If they wanted to kill him, he would. He was thinking of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but feel a bit absent-minded. Clasping Yuan Realm martial artists might be able to walk around in the Windy Nation, but compared to the entire South Rudra region, or even the entire True Spirit continent, they were nothing. Above the clasping Yuan Realm was the Astral Reaching Realm, where a martial artist could easily destroy a small martial institution. Above the Astral Reaching Realm was the Sea of Souls Realm, where a martial artist could be considered as a powerful being. They had the power to destroy the terrain, and their Jinqi was like an endless ocean. Above the Astral Reaching Realm was the Life and Death Realm martial artists. Life and Death Realm martial artists could be crowned as kings, such as Su King, Evil King, Xianhou, Dragon King, and so on. They were the true kings of the True Spirit continent, and they could easily move mountains and oceans. The scariest thing was that Life and Death Realm martial artists had already reached the limit of the human body. They could reverse life and death, and as long as there were no accidents, they could live up to 1,000 years old. Apart from this, it was said that Life and Death Realm martial artists were extremely hard to kill, as they already had the ability to grow flesh and even regenerate from a single drop of blood. However, even life and death stage warriors needed to understand the great Tao of nature. They all wanted to reach a higher level, to reach the legendary level. However, this level was still too far away for Yi Chen. It was not something he could reach at all. If he forced himself to think about it, it would be like biting off more than he could chew. Getting rid of all the distracting thoughts, Yi Chen found that his state of mind seemed to have improved a little bit, and the stable Jin Qi inside his body seemed to have become more active. Could it be that only by being ambitious can I have a better future? Yi Chen thought to himself. On the stage, Ouyang Ming didn't continue to attack. Instead, the disdainful look on his face had turned into one of caution. The kick he launched just now contained almost 90% of his power, but his opponent was able to take it without even taking a step back. Not bad. You actually took a kick from me, Ouyang Ming said while secretly accumulating his power. Lu Hanshan stared at Ouyang Ming coldly and said, "Now it's my turn. Great Monument Heavenly King Fist." Without wasting any time, Lu Hanshan took a step forward. His entire body was covered in purple mist, which was shining brightly. He threw a punch towards Ouyang Ming along with an earth-shattering power. Pop, 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 the air was penetrated layer by layer. A gigantic fist holding a purple monument fiercely pressed towards Ouyang Ming. All of a sudden, the airflow around the fist began to stop, solidify, and then collapse. It's the Great Monument Heavenly King Fist. Our leader has taught this martial skill to Hanshan as well. The fourth elder showed a joyful look on his face. Normally, court disciples would only be taught one low-rank Earth Realm martial skill. Apart from the strict control on the circulation of secret martial skills, the most important reason was to prevent core disciples from being distracted. After all, it was already very difficult to learn one martial skill, and it was not wise to learn two at the same time. In the end, a core disciple would only be mediocre and not outstanding in any aspect. Therefore, it was better to learn one martial skill first, and then learn the other martial skills after reaching the peak of the first one. The fact that Lu Hanshan was able to learn the second low-rank Earth Realm martial skill meant that the leader had already known that Lu Hanshan had reached the 9th level of the Purple Extreme Art and was qualified to learn the second one. Of course, not everyone would be like this. The school would first test one's loyalty. For some disciples who had second thoughts, no matter how talented they were, the school would not teach them any secret martial skill. However, if they found a low-rank Earth Realm martial skill outside, the school would not care about them. At most, they would just remind them that the quality of the martial skill was more important than the quantity. The head elder slightly nodded. With the Great Monument Heavenly King Fist, Lu Hanshan basically had the power to fight against child-level opponents. Break! Ouyang Ming threw a flying kick. The volcanic shadow of his leg transformed into a gigantic blade and hacked on the fist and the monument. Clang! The fist paused for a second, and there seemed to be a crack on the monument. However, it was still moving towards Ouyang Ming. Ouyang Ming's face darkened. Finally, all of his Jin Qi burst out, and a dazzling sun-like light shot up into the sky. Ouyang Ming spun around and flew into the air, then threw a heavy kick on the fist and the monument. Dragon Beheading Kick. Crack! The Great Monument Heavenly King Fist was broken, but it also forced Ouyang Ming to use all of his power. Blade and Leg Fusion. Seeing this, Yi Chen frowned. He had already known that Ouyang Ming's blade art was just as powerful as his leg art. However, for a warrior, it was not a good thing to be powerful in all of them. They had to choose one martial skill to focus on. For example, Yi Chen used to focus on fist art and sword art at the same time, and his fist art was still the most powerful one. But now, he focused on sword art, and the fist art was just a supplement. Yi Chen didn't expect that Ouyang Ming would take a different path and merge his leg art with his blade art. From now on, his blade art would be his leg art, and his leg art would be his blade art. His power was even greater than before. But no one knew whether it was because of his own initiative, or because of the Dragon Beheading Kick. After breaking the Great Monument Heavenly King fist with a single kick, Ouyang Ming didn't show any mercy. His body flashed, and tens of fierce kicks were thrown out. Lu Hanzhan didn't step back, he launched the Great Monument Heavenly King fist once again, and clashed with Ouyang Ming's kick. Lu Hanzhan, lose! Ouyang Ming stomped on the ground, his whole body shot up into the sky, and threw another kick down. Roar! A loud and shrill dragon roar came out. Ouyang Ming's kick directly transformed into a terrifyingly huge blade. On the blade, a broken dragon's body was faintly visible, while the dragon's howl was coming out of its mouth. Hearing this howl, some young warriors who were not powerful enough immediately felt dizzy, as if all of their strength had been sucked out. Ouyang Ming was very confident about the power of the dragon beheading kick. The blade art and leg art that he had been practicing before were actually one, but they were forcibly separated, in order to speed up his cultivation. It was not like what Yi Chen had thought. With his current cultivation, there was no way he could create his own martial art. If he could, he would have become a great master long ago. Except for young Master Emerald, who had already stepped into the clasping Yuan realm, no one in the Windy Nation would be able to rival him, not even one move. East Rising Purple Qi, Great Monument Suppression. The bridge-like purple qi behind Lu Hanshan's back grew brighter and brighter, it almost pierced through his body. After that, a 10-meter-tall purple monument appeared, suppressing this space. On the monument, countless dead warriors were crawling out of the ground, letting out unyielding roars, as if they were trying to return to the real world and regain the glory of the past. This scene was truly shocking. What kind of power is this? It's so scary. Even 10 of me would not be able to rival the 2 of them. I'm afraid that they could crush me into pieces with only a single move. So powerful. I can't even imagine it. I thought that I would be able to compete with them, but now it seems that I was just dreaming. All of those talented young martial artists from those powerful institutions were stunned. They couldn't imagine that a peak-level late condensing reality realm martial artist could release such a great power. Even some early clasping Yuan realm martial artists couldn't be this powerful. In other words, they could definitely compete with early clasping Yuan realm martial artists, and might even be able to kill them. Not only them, even the disciples from those powerful institutions had a serious look on their faces. They stared at the stage without even blinking their eyes, as if they didn't want to miss even the slightest detail. Clang! The dragon-wrapped blade fiercely hacked on the purple monument, causing a sky-shaking boom. Half of the purple monument was cut off, and cracks spread out in all directions. Fortunately, Lu Hanzhan managed to block the kick that could instantly kill a peak-level late condensing reality realm martial artist. If he couldn't, Lu Hanzhan would surely lose. Lu Hanshan's straight back bent slightly, but his face remained perfectly expressionless. His sharp eyes were fixed on Ouyang Ming through the silhouette of the monument. Chapter 131. Seeing Lu Hanshan's eyes, Ouyang Ming was enraged. He yelled out, "Broken dragon move." He threw a sideways kick. The sharp, blade-like leg power tore the air apart, creating a shrill howl as it landed on the purple monument. All of a sudden, the silhouette of the dragon reappeared, but it was broken into pieces. Crack! The purple monument was covered in cracks, and finally, it exploded. However, right at this moment, a human silhouette darted out from the broken monument. A gigantic fist was holding the monument, trying to attack Ouyang Ming, who was still in the air. Great monument shakes the sky. Let's see how you can shake my dragon beheading kick. Ouyang Ming threw 2 strikes at the monument in a row, and stopped in the air with the help of the counterforce. Seeing Lu Hanshan coming at him, Ouyang Ming grinned hideously and threw the dragon-slaying movement, the most powerful move of his dragon beheading kick. The horrifying leg power seemed to be able to destroy souls. Boom! Lu Hanshan was knocked down from the sky, and was forced to take over 10 steps back. Ouyang Ming didn't gain the upper hand either, his body was flipped over in the air, and finally fell on the ground. Lose! Great monument suppression. Without any hesitation, the 2 of them once again started fighting against each other. Rainstorm-like attacks were launched one after another. Yang Ming's dragon beheading kick was extremely powerful. It was almost as powerful as a mid-rank Earth Realm martial skill. Every single kick launched by Yang Ming was able to shatter the opponent's mind. Lu Hanshan's Great Monument Heavenly King Fist was slightly weaker than the dragon beheading kick, however, the extreme purple art was extremely powerful. After reaching the 9th level of the East Rising Purple Chi, Lu Hanshan was able to absorb the purple Chi and increase the power of his martial skills. That was the reason why he was able to compete with Yang Ming's dragon beheading kick without falling into a disadvantageous situation. 300 moves. 500 moves. After 600 moves, Zhuang Qingxian knew that he couldn't let them go on like this. In order to decide the winner, they would need at least 2,000 moves. Besides, their cultivation was way too low. If they took 2,000 moves, they might die of exhaustion. Even clasping Yuan realm martial artists could barely take 2,000 moves. Releasing a stream of qi, Zhuang Qingxian stood up and said, "You two, please stop. Today is just a show, we don't have to decide the winner." The Sky Cloud Martial School's head elder nodded. He had already realized that Lu Hanshan wouldn't be able to win against Yang Ming. Of course, Yang Ming wouldn't be able to win against Lu Hanshan either. Ha! The first elder of the Purple Sun House had an ugly expression on his face. Lu Hanshan didn't launch another attack. Instead, he let out a long breath and said blandly, "It seems that you won't be able to defeat me today." "You didn't defeat me either." Yang Ming suppressed his boiling qi and blood. "Today's battle will be decided in the future. The title of Young Master is always waiting for you." After saying this, Luo Hanshan returned to his seat. Zhuang Qingxian retracted his qi and said, "Who else wants to challenge me?" "Valley Master, let me do it." Lu Wuxiang, who had been quiet all this while, walked out. Zhuang Qingxian was slightly surprised. "Wuxiang, who do you want to challenge?" Lu Wuxiang's cold eyes fell on Lynch. "I've always heard that your blade is very fast, even faster than young Master North Snow. I wonder if it's true." Lynch stood up. "You will lose. It's still too early to talk about winning or losing, don't you think? My fast blade is based on speed. Either you defeat me quickly, or you are defeated by me quickly. There is no third possibility." Lynch's face was expressionless. His temperament was neither sad nor happy. He looked even colder than Lu Wuxiang, colder to the extreme. "I think I've heard about this before, I want to experience it even more." A strong fighting intent was released from Lu Wuxiang's body. It was not any weaker than Yang Ming's or Lu Hanshan's, it was even stronger. Step by step, he walked up to Lu Wuxiang. 30 steps in front of him, Lynch took out a great blade from his storage ring. A strange light flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. Lynch didn't use the low-rank great blade. It seemed that he wanted to defeat Lu Wuxiang with his own power in a fair fight. "Let's do this." A cyan-colored stream of air rose from Lu Wuxiang's body. This stream of air was extremely sharp. It looked like a saw, twisting and cutting the air that came in contact with it, causing a hissing sound. Clang! As soon as the blade was pulled out, Lynch's body had already disappeared. A white beam of light shot out and hacked on Lu Wuxiang's protective Zhenqi layer. Puff! That layer of cyan-colored air stream was cut in half, but Lu Wuxiang didn't even have the time to react. So fast! Lu Wuxiang's pupils shrank, he was greatly shocked. Although he had already known that Lynch was powerful, and that he might have already reached young Master North Snow's level, he didn't expect that Lynch's blade could be this fast. It even slowed him down a bit. Not daring to be careless, the cyan-colored air stream around Lu Wuxiang's body suddenly rose, forming a cyan-colored armor that was filled with a strong killing intent. The armor was incomparably thick, and there were huge sharp horns on the edge of the armor. At first glance, it looked like an ancient demon had come back to life. Clang, 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 but in the next second, Lynch's blade arrived once again. No one could see Yi Chen's figure, only the snow-white blade light could be seen, again and again, hacking on Lu Wuxiang's cyan-colored Zhenqi armor. making a loud metal clanging sound. 31st Blade Attack. Boom! A condensed blade light extended to tens of meters long, and went through Lu Wuxiang's waist. Putting the blade back into the sheath, Lynch walked back to his seat. What's going on? The winner hasn't been decided yet? Could it be that Lynch knows that he can't beat Lu Wuxiang, so he doesn't want to fight? While everyone was still puzzled, the Jinqi armor around Lu Wuxiang's body cracked and exploded, leaving only a pale-faced man standing in place. The crowd fell into a dead silence, followed by a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Lu Wuxiang lost. With only 31 blade attacks, Lu Wuxiang lost. Lu Wuxiang is recognized as a child-level warrior, but Lynch defeated him. Doesn't that mean that Lynch has already reached the same level as young Master North Snow and young Master Duanmu, or even surpassed him? The North Snow Fast Blade is indeed worthy of its name. It's extremely fast, without any fancy moves. Yu Yu's mouth curved into a smile. These people probably don't know yet. Back in the villa, young Master North Snow had already fought against Lynch, and both of them were evenly matched. However, in Yu Yu's eyes, Lynch had won, because he was still improving, and had never stopped. Lu Hanshan said word by word, the North Snow Fast Blade is indeed worthy of its reputation. Among all the martial arts in the world, there is nothing that cannot be broken by speed. Speed is not only about speed, but also about attacking power. When one's speed reaches a certain level, even a piece of paper or a leaf can penetrate an iron armor, and kill someone without leaving a trace. Yi Chen knew better than anyone else that Lynch's initial attacking power was not ridiculously strong, but after his speed increased, he was able to easily cut through Lu Wuxiang's Jinqi armor, and every time he launched an attack, he would try to find the weak point of the armor, preparing for the final attack. Hearing him, Lu Hanshan and Su Jing both looked at him. It was the first time for them to hear such a straightforward and easy-to-understand theory. The fourth elder and the head elder glanced at each other. They couldn't understand Yi Chen at all. How could he know so much at such a young age? And what he said was very reasonable and straight to the point. Nangong Yun, the Rudra Martial School's Rain Warrior, shook his head and said, unbelievably fast. This guy is only below the 3 young masters. No, he might even be below young Master Emerald. Yuan Xuemei said in surprise, second brother, is he really that powerful? He has already understood the profound meaning of speed. Every single movement of his is able to push his speed to the limit. If you want to compete with him, you will have to be faster than him, or be far more powerful than him. But of course, my eyesight is limited. Maybe there are other ways to deal with him. After this fight, Lynch had become even more famous. Although he didn't have the title of child, in everyone's mind, he had already become the new child. After watching North Snow Fast Blade Lin Chi's battle, the rest of the matches became boring. Everyone was looking forward to seeing what kind of heavyweight matches would happen next. The fight was over. Shirpadian stood up. It was time. Everyone looked at Shirpadian curiously, wondering who he was going to challenge. Yi Chen, you are quite powerful. There are not many young martial artists in the Windy Nation who can beat you. Do you want to accept my challenge? Of course, if you don't, I won't force you. It's just a bit of a pity. Shirpadian flattered Yi Chen right at the beginning. With this flattery, he would be able to fight against Yi Chen and destroy his half-step sword intent with peace of mind. Just as he expected, everyone thought that it was reasonable. The scene where Yi Chen beat Qing Junshi was still vivid in their minds. Perhaps it might be a bit difficult to compete with those experienced young martial artists, but he was still qualified to fight against Yi Chen. After all, this was not a life-and-death fight, it was just a show. Yi Chen didn't care about Shirpadian's cunning words. He nodded and said, sure. The corner of Shirpadian's mouth curved into a smile. Finally, this moment has come. I wonder what kind of expression you will have when the fight is over. The two stood facing each other. The next moment, Shirpadian's body let out a bright, glass-like light, which was mixed with pure golden light. It looked like gold, but not like gold, and also like jade, but not like jade. His skin, hair, and even his eyes had been dyed with a different color, as if his body was no longer made of flesh and blood. The 9th level of Colored Glass Spell, Golden Glass Body. Colored Glass Spell is one of the most powerful low-rank Earth Realm defensive martial arts in the Emerald Martial Palace. Once you reach the 9th level of Golden Glass Body, you will be invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire. Your defensive power will be many times stronger than any demonic beast at the same level. Basically, you will be invincible. With the protection of Golden Glass Body, Yi Chen has no chance at all. I just wonder how many moves he can take. Yi Chen took a glance at Shirpotion's body, then nodded and said, I have also trained a defensive martial art, I wonder whose one is better. While speaking, Yi Chen's body suddenly shook, and a bright light burst out from his body as well. However, it was not a glass-like light but a jade-like light. A layer of jade-like luster covered his entire body. His muscles became more and more angular, and his facial features looked like they were carved by a knife. He looked like a beautiful jade statue. The 5th level of the Pure Jade Body Boosting Spell. The level of Golden Steel Body Boosting Spell. Buzz! The crowd once again boiled up. Shirpotion's nickname, Stone Man, was because of his extremely high defensive power, which made him as stable as a rock. However, Yi Chen had also trained a defensive martial art. Judging from its appearance, it seemed to be no weaker than Shirpotion's Colored Glass Spell. The battle between the two great defensive martial arts, who would be more powerful? Chapter 132. Shirpotion raised his eyebrows and sneered in his mind. You want to compete with my golden body with a random body strengthening art? You're really reckless. If that's the case, then let me see what you can do. Shirpotion leaned his body forward, his speed suddenly reached its limit, leaving a series of golden afterimages behind him. In terms of speed, he was only slightly slower than Lynch. When he was less than 3 meters away from Yi Chen, Shirpotion bent his right arm and threw out a punch. This punch was simple and direct, it contained all of its power. However, the ear-tearing sound was especially ear-piercing. Yi Chen didn't show any intention of backing off. He took a step forward with his right foot and threw out a punch as well. Boom! 2 bloodless fists collided with each other. The air was compressed and splattered in all directions. The ground cracked and collapsed, and a depression appeared. The next second, both of them were pushed back, unable to stop their bodies. Fierce! The fist power didn't leak out at all, it was completely focused on his opponent. In terms of physical strength, the two seemed to be equally matched. I wonder how much of Shirpotion's power is. To be honest, I really can't tell. Both of them released their power the moment they touched each other's bodies. It's hard to tell without experiencing it myself. On the stage, some people were discussing in low voices. Shirpotion stopped himself from backing off and raised his head. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. He was known as the Stone Man, not only because of his high defensive power, but also because of his great physical strength. Without using any Jin Qi, he had once killed a peak rank 3 beast with his bare hands, and he could even fight against a rank 4 beast with his bare hands. His opponent was 2 or 3 years younger than him, but not only was he quite good at sword arts, he had also comprehended the half-step sword intent. However, for Shirpotion, the more outstanding Yi Chen was, the more he wanted to destroy Yi Chen's confidence, so that he would never be able to stand straight again. Let's see how many punches you can take. Shirpotion accelerated and arrived in front of Yi Chen in 2 to 3 steps. His golden fist turned into a series of afterimages, each of which contained his full power. Yi Chen was not afraid of him at all, he started to fight against him. After hundreds of moves, Shirpotion grinned and said, "Take this." Not defending. Yi Chen furrowed his brows. His opponent had completely given up on defense, and his attack speed had increased exponentially. If he were to fight head-on, he would inevitably be hit by a few punches. If he didn't fight head-on, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. After all, no matter how sturdy his defense was, there would still be a day when a gap could be opened up. Hardening his heart, Yi Chen also gave up on the idea of defending and punched out with his jade-like fist. Bang! Bang! Both of them took a punch each, causing sparks and banging sounds to ring out. Shirpadian grinned hideously, as if that punch just now had no effect on him at all. Then, he leapt forward and once again engaged in battle with Yi Chen. Bang 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 bang. For a moment, even Yi Chen and Shirpadian didn't know how many punches they had received. They only knew that every part of their upper bodies had been taken care of, and even their heads had been punched a few times. Compared to them, there was no need to mention those young elites who were watching the fight. They could only see that the two of them were like madmen. They only knew how to attack, they didn't know how to defend at all. It seemed like whoever could punch the other one more time would be the winner. What a freak! Whoever fights against them will definitely be at a disadvantage. Their defense is so strong. They can't even break their opponent's defense, let alone us. We will only be able to scratch an itch for them. Shirpadian cultivates the colored glass spell. What kind of body strengthening art does that Yi Chen cultivate? How come he is so powerful? He is not weaker than Shirpadian at all. After fighting for a long time, Shirpadian was getting impatient. His opponent's defense was beyond his imagination, and it seemed like the colored glass golden body alone wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. If that was the case, he would have to use other martial arts. Heavenly Star Explosion. Leaping into the air, Shirpadian's fist shone with a dazzling golden light as he punched down. Finally using a martial skill, Yi Chen threw out the second movement of the Tyrant Fist art, the Soul Tyrant Fist art. The surrounding Yuan Qi was instantly sucked into the fist power. Explode! What surprised Yi Chen was that for the first time, the Tyrant Fist art had been suppressed by another martial skill. The invincible fist power exploded layer by layer, as if it was filled with gunpowder. Shoo! Flashing across the air, Yi Chen had already moved back tens of steps. Shirpadian chased after Yi Chen and threw out a punch. Since the Tyrant Fist art had failed, Yi Chen had no choice but to use the Hidden Cloud Sword. He threw out a sword attack and activated his half-step sword intent. Crackle! The fist power and the sword chi were equally matched, neither of them could gain the upper hand. The Heavenly Star Exploding Fist art is a low-rank Earth Realm martial skill, but it can suppress most martial skills. The fist power contained in it is extremely powerful, and once it touches the sword, it will explode from inside out. Lu Han's Han had been famous for a long time. He had recognized Shirpadian's martial skill with only a single glance. The main reason why this sword chi of Yi Chen could be equally matched with Shirpadian's sword intent was because of the sword intent. The sword intent itself contained a sharp power, and once it merged with this sharp power, the sword chi of a sword artist would become even more powerful and hard to break. Let's see how you are going to block this. At this moment, Shirpadian finally threw out his most powerful martial skill. He clenched both of his fists in the air and threw them out like two dragons flying out of the sea, as if they were going to shake the entire world. Rumble! The golden light covered almost half of the square, and the fierce fist power was completely hidden. Only the deafening sound of explosion could be heard, while the power was moving towards Yi Chen. This was the first time that Yi Chen had encountered such a tough opponent, and it was not strange at all. Shirpadian was one of the top 4 core disciples of the Emerald Martial Palace, and he was no weaker than Lu Wuxiang. Among the young generation on the scene, except for young Master Emerald who had already stepped into the Clasping Yuan realm, only that North Snow Fast Blade Lynch could defeat him. Yi Chen had just stepped into the late condensing reality realm. Although his Zhenqi was not weak, it was not as pure as the Zhenqi of the peak-level late condensing reality realm martial artists. Yi Chen's only advantage was his half-step sword intent. Sword intent. It seems that I have no choice but to use that sword move. After thinking for a moment, Yi Chen made up his mind and stopped hesitating. Taking a step forward with his left foot, Yi Chen held the sword in his right hand and raised it high. He focused all of his attention on the hidden cloud sword and swung it down. Swoosh! No one could describe how fast this sword move was, because before Yi Chen made any move, a thick stream of sword chi had already darted out. This stream of sword chi was as fast as lightning. It turned into a beam of white light and instantly disappeared into the golden light. Silently, the golden light was split into two, and all of the fist power was destroyed. Like snow in the spring meeting the scorching sun, it melted away. Crack! A crack appeared on Shirpotian's ribs, and blood gushed out from it. Shirpotian didn't even have any reaction. What kind of sword art is this? How could it be so fast? After the sword move, the crowd fell into a dead silence. Finally, someone couldn't help but yell out. All the head elders from the top martial institutions looked confused. None of them knew what this sword move was. Only Yuan Shuimei seemed to be thinking about something, then her facial expression changed drastically, as if she had seen something unbelievable. She opened her mouth wide and couldn't close it anymore. Zhuang Qingxian's face darkened. He said word by word, "The single sword move." "Headmaster, what is the single sword move?" Lu Wuxiang hurriedly asked. According to the legend, in the ancient times, there was a sword artist who created a sword art for revenge. This sword art only had one move, and that was the single sword move. To perform the single sword move, the cultivator must combine his spirit, chi, hands, eyes, and body into one. This is only the first step. The second step is even more difficult. It requires the cultivator to use the sword as a guide, and release all of his power in the form of a sword to kill enemies who are more powerful than him. However, after performing the single sword move, the cultivator will also feel weak for a period of time. Normally, ordinary sword artists wouldn't be able to perform the single sword move. Only those who have a pure heart or those who have comprehended the sword intent can do it. However, this Yi Chen has already touched the edge of the sword intent, so it's not strange for him to be able to perform it. While explaining, Zhuang Qingxian really wanted to know where Yi Chen had obtained the single sword move. One should know that it wasn't that easy to successfully perform the single sword move. If he didn't do it well, he might even suffer from chi deviation and lose his cultivation. However, Yuan Shuimei knew it better than anyone else, because the sword manual she had given to Yi Chen contained the introduction of the single sword move. However, it was clearly just an introduction, not a secret manual. How did Yi Chen manage to successfully perform the single sword move? Could it be that he was able to perform the single sword move with just his imagination? How is this possible? Shirpotian stared at Yi Chen. His heavenly astral explosive fist move was not only powerful. If Yi Chen didn't have any other tricks up his sleeves, he would only need 10 moves to defeat Yi Chen. However, he had never thought that Yi Chen would give him such an unexpected attack, and with only one move, he had lost all of his power. Yi Chen's face turned slightly pale, but it wasn't as serious as Zhuang Qingxian had described. He had indeed learned the single sword move from the sword manual, and the theory behind it was actually quite similar to the sword intent. However, the sword intent could be activated for a long period of time, while the single sword move couldn't. The most important function of the single sword move was to increase a sword artist's power drastically, allowing him to kill his enemies with only one move. Puff! Shirpotian spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't even stand straight anymore. His golden body had been broken, and it had taken a huge toll on him. Without 3 months of rest, he wouldn't be able to recover to his peak state. Right now, he was even weaker than an early condensing reality realm warrior. Needless to say, an inner elder of the Emerald Martial Palace walked up and held Shirpotian up. On the Purple Sun Martial Palace's side. This kid is so scary. What other tricks does he have up his sleeves? Can Zhu Liang handle him? Will he be able to escape this time? If so, it will be even harder to kill him in the future. The elder of the Purple Sun Martial Palace, who was sitting next to Zhang Qing, said to the head elder through Zhenqi. The head elder of the Purple Sun Martial Palace snorted, "Don't underestimate Zhu Liang. He has killed quite a lot of geniuses, some of them were even as powerful as Yi Chen. Not to mention, we just need to remind him to be prepared for this sword move. After this sword move, he won't be able to fight back anymore." Yeah! How come I didn't know that this sword move was so powerful? It must have some side effects. Sitting straight on the chair, Yi Chen's face turned even paler, but he was sneering in his mind. He had a powerful soul power, and although it seemed that performing the single sword move would consume a lot of his soul power, it was actually not a big deal. If he put his life on the line, he could perform it 3 or 4 more times without a problem. He just pretended to be a show to the others, he didn't want it to be too shocking. Chapter 133. Ever since the fight between Yi Chen and Shirpadian had ended, almost all of the disciples from the top martial institutions had fought against each other, and none of them seemed to want to fight again. "Brother Yi, are you alright?" Seeing Yi Chen's pale face, Luo Hanshan thought that Yi Chen was suffering from some serious side effects after using the heart refining. Yi Chen shook his head. "Just a small thing, Brother Luo, don't worry." Luo Hanshan said, "You'd better not use this move in the future, it's too dangerous, either you or the enemy will die." "Thank you, Brother Luo." This Luo Hanshan was a nice guy, he was neither arrogant nor rash, never discouraged, and always treated people with kindness. He never acted like the second brother or the son of the leader of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Luo Hanshan grinned and said, "You are a treasure of our Sky Cloud Martial School, how can I not care about you?" Hearing him, the head elder and the fourth elder also grinned. The sun slowly went down. The fighting performance was coming to an end. Zhuang Qingxian stood up and said, "Everyone, although the fighting performance is over, the celebration banquet is not. There will be a banquet in the evening, I hope you can all come." "No problem, we rarely come to the Emerald Martial Palace, we are not in a hurry to leave. Since there will be a banquet for us, let's enjoy ourselves." "Leader Zhuang, don't worry, we will definitely attend the banquet." It was already late, and it was not convenient for them to travel. Therefore, they didn't refuse and decided to stay in the Emerald Martial Palace for the night, and leave the next morning. The banquet was very sumptuous, everyone started to eat. In a secret hall of the Emerald Martial Palace. The hall was brightly lit, and the elders of the top 4 martial institutions were sitting in the hall. The leader of the Emerald Martial Palace, Zhuang Qingxian, was sitting in the first seat, and 2 inner elders of the Emerald Martial Palace were sitting beside him. Zhuang Qingxian glanced at the crowd and said, "I have called you all to attend this meeting because I have an important announcement." The head elder of the Rudra Martial School was a beautiful woman, about 35 years old. She said, "What is it? Is it related to the top 5 martial institutions?" "Related to the top 5 martial institutions?" Hearing the woman's words, the others seemed to be thinking about something, and their faces turned serious. Zhuang Qingxian nodded, "It's indeed related to the 5 major sects, but it's not that serious for now. Half a month ago, a disciple of our Emerald Martial Palace found a branch of the Ghost Corpse Mountain by chance. Although he didn't manage to sneak in, judging from the security around it, it is undoubtedly one of the most important strongholds of the Ghost Corpse Mountain, which is used to train the new generation of Ghost Guards." The branch of the Ghost Corpse Mountain. Ghost Guards. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The incident of Malevolent Earth sect being annihilated was still vivid in their minds. The Ghost Man was one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 evil cult, and his power was as deep as the ocean. Although he hadn't fully recovered from his injuries, and hadn't reached his peak, he was still not someone that the leaders of the top martial institutions could compete with, even if they joined hands. The Ghost Man used to live in the Ghost Corpse Mountain. Later on, a great war broke out, and the Ghost Corpse Mountain was destroyed. However, its name was still there, and it became a symbol of the Ghost Man's power. Besides the 5 loyal ghost servants, the Ghost Man also had a large number of Ghost Guards. The Ghost Guards were divided into 4 levels. The low-level Ghost Guards were the weakest, equivalent to late condensing reality realm warriors. The mid-level Ghost Guards were equivalent to early clasping Yuan realm warriors. The high-level Ghost Guards were at mid-clasping Yuan realm, and above them were the top Ghost Guards at late clasping Yuan realm. Each level of Ghost Guards had a Ghost Guard leader, who was the most powerful Ghost Guard of the same level. If that was all, there would be no need to worry too much. After all, it was not that easy to increase one's cultivation, and training Ghost Guards was not something that could be done in a day or 2. However, the reason why the Ghost Man was able to rank in the upper middle level among the 108 Ghost Warriors was not because of his own power. Instead, he relied on the method of training Ghost Guards. No one knew where he found a scroll that could stimulate the potential of the human body. This scroll could allow ordinary people to have a cultivation speed that was even faster than geniuses. Of course, there were also disadvantages. Because of the excessive stimulation of potential, the Ghost Guards who trained in this scroll could not live past the age of 40. Only a few of them could live past the age of 40, and their bodies would start to deteriorate. They would age prematurely. Because of this, the Ghost Guards of the Ghost Corpse Mountain were all extremely cruel and evil. They wanted to enjoy everything they could before the age of 40, and they did not care about anything at all. The head elder of the North Snow Martial Academy said, "Leader Zhuang, you mean, we should destroy the Ghost Corpse Mountain's branch?" "That's right, we can't let the Ghost Corpse Mountain rise again. We have to do everything we can to weaken the Ghost Corpse Mountain's power before the Ghost Man fully recovers. Otherwise, in a few years, the 5 top-ranked martial institutions and the entire Windy Nation's martial world will face a disaster." As the leader of the 5 top-ranked martial institutions, the Emerald Martial Palace not only needed to suppress the other 4 top-ranked martial institutions, but also needed to eliminate all the dangers of the Windy Nation. Otherwise, they would be the first ones to suffer. The head elder of the Sky Cloud Martial School nodded. "That's right, I agree with Leader Zhuang's suggestion. Do you have any plans? Besides, we are still not sure how powerful that branch of the Ghost Corpse Mountain is. If we attack it recklessly, I'm afraid something unexpected might happen." The 5th elder of the Purple Sun Martial School sneered, "Since when did the Sky Cloud Martial School become so timid? It's just a branch of the Ghost Corpse Mountain, how powerful can it be?" The tall and sturdy 4th elder retorted, "How about your Purple Sun Martial School take the lead? Facing an external enemy, the 5 top-ranked martial institutions should work together. If our Purple Sun Martial School takes the lead, wouldn't that be breaking the rule? Don't even mention it." The 5th elder of the Purple Sun Martial School glared at the 4th elder of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Seeing this, the head elder of the Rudra Martial School shook his head and said, "Let's hear what Leader Zhuang has to say first." Zhuang Qingxian sorted out his thoughts and said, "I think the 5 top-ranked martial institutions should each send out a group of warriors to attack the Ghost Corpse Mountain's branch together. In each group, there should be at least 3 late-clasping Yuan Realm warriors, 7 mid-clasping Yuan Realm warriors, and 15 early-clasping Yuan Realm warriors. The total number should be over 100. Of course, we can also bring some of our disciples to train themselves in the battles." "Great, let's do that. When should we do it?" The North Snow Martial Academy's style had always been swift and decisive, just like their blade skills. "The 8th of August. Zhuang Qingxian continued, "Tomorrow morning, you have to be careful on your way back. I suspect that some people from the Ghost Corpse Mountain have sneaked into the Emerald Martial Palace. They might try to harm you." If it weren't for the fact that the Ghost Corpse Mountain was right under his nose, Zhuang Qingxian wouldn't have reminded them at all. After all of them were top-ranked inner elders of the 4 top-ranked martial institutions. Even one death would be a great loss, not to mention those talented disciples who could become the pillars of their martial institutions in the future. However, for the long term, Zhuang Qingxian had to say it out loud. Otherwise, if they were ambushed on their way back, some people would start to suspect the Emerald Martial Palace, and it would be even more difficult for them to work together in the future. At the very least, the Emerald Martial Palace was the overlord of the Windy Nation. 1 or 2 top-ranked inner elders and talented disciples would not be able to shake their foundation, so there was no need to worry too much. Late at night. The starlight was dim, and the moon was hiding in the clouds. The ground was pitch black. A chopstick-shaped insect with 4 pairs of wings flew up from a luxurious yard, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the Green Willow House. Under the crystal lamp, Yi Chen started reading the sword manual from the beginning again. The battle this afternoon had benefited him a lot. His understanding of swordsmanship had also deepened. Especially after seeing so many experts of the younger generation spar with each other, it had broadened his horizons a lot. In this regard, he felt that he was far from reaching the limit of what he could achieve. He wanted to gain some insights from the sword manual. As he flipped through the pages of the sword manual, Yi Chen's eyes shone even brighter. In the other residences, none of the young warriors who had participated in the fight this afternoon had fallen asleep. Just like Yi Chen, they had all learned a lot from the sword manual. As long as they could digest all of these, they would definitely be able to make further progress and surpass their opponents who were at the same level as them. The night was getting darker, and the Emerald Martial Palace was in a dead silence. In the morning, Yi Chen and the others immediately bid farewell and came to the entrance of the Emerald Martial Palace. Swoosh! He blew a whistle that contained his Jinqi. The wind vulture, which was standing on a mountain not far away, flew over at an extremely high speed and landed in front of the five of them. Getting on the vulture, the head elder said in a deep voice, "On our way back, we need to rest and store up our strength, and prepare for the upcoming battle." Luo Hanshan was shocked and asked, "Head elder, what happened?" The fourth elder shook his head and responded, "Don't ask too much, maybe we have been worrying too much." Hearing this, Yi Chen, Luo Hanshan and Luo Hanshan's eyes flashed with a strange light. Did something big happen? Last night, the leader of the Emerald Martial Palace had called them to the banquet because of this. The wind vulture flew into the clouds, its speed instantly broke through the sound barrier, and flew away at lightning speed. In the afternoon, the wind vulture was already around 20,000 miles away from the Emerald Martial Palace. A strange bug brushed past the wind vulture, which attracted Yi Chen's attention. Soon, a few more bugs were discovered. Perhaps it was because the wind vulture was too fast and those bugs were relatively small, neither the head elder nor the fourth elder noticed them. When the ninth bug was discovered, Yi Chen couldn't help but ask, "Head elder, what's wrong with these bugs?" The head elder turned around and took a glance at Yi Chen. Seeing that he didn't seem to be joking, he hurriedly stopped the wind vulture, looked around, and immediately found a chopstick-shaped bug. "Come here." The head elder waved his hand, and that chopstick-shaped bug was sucked into the head elder's hand without any resistance. Squeak, 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 the bug was around 4 inches long, slim and black, with 4 pairs of thin black wings on its back. Its head was a round ball, which was filled with compound eyes, which made it look extremely creepy and scary. At this moment, the chopstick-shaped bug was struggling in the head elder's hand, trying to break through the Jinqi barrier and fly out. With a single glance, the head elder and the fourth elder's faces darkened. The fourth elder said word by word, "Four-winged black demon bug." Luo Hanshan was shocked. Is this the four-winged black demon bug that was raised by the ghost artist, one of the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 evil cult? It's said that this bug is extremely fast, and can be used as a spy. Although it's small, it's as powerful as a third-grade demon beast. He was the son of the leader of the Sky Cloud Martial School, and he knew quite a lot about the 9 evil cults' annihilation. Therefore, he immediately realized what was going on once he heard the name of the chopstick-shaped bug. Indeed, prepare for battle. Our every move is under the enemy's surveillance, they should be not far from here. The head elder shouted. Chapter 134. Before the head elder's voice faded, a swooshing noise came from afar. Whoosh! 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 3 silhouettes stood above the clouds, their bodies rising and falling along with the airflow. 5 of us, not one less. All 3 of them were wearing black robes with golden edges and cloaks, which were embroidered with evil ghost patterns. At this moment, the middle-aged man in black robes, who seemed to be the leader, glared at the 3 of them and let out a cruel laugh. The head elder knew that these 3 people must be the ghost guards of the Ghost Corpse Mountain, but he still yelled, "Who are you?" "The ones who will kill you." The middle-aged man in black robes on the left pulled out his long blade and launched a hack. Puff! The clouds were torn apart, and a gigantic, gray blade chi, which was tens of meters long, flashed across the sky and appeared in front of the wind vulture. Bastard! The head elder's long hair and beard fluttered in the air as he pointed his finger out. Puff! The blade chi was penetrated by the finger power and shattered. Sky-burning palm. The fourth elder couldn't wait anymore. He raised his red-hot, iron-like palm and launched a hack, evaporating the clouds. Kill! The middle-aged man in black robes, who seemed to be the leader of the group, made his move. He pressed his right hand in the air and released a tens of meters long, gray, gigantic palm made of Jinqi. Not only did it shatter the fourth elder's palm power, it also moved towards the wind vulture and Yi Chen's group like a dark cloud. The head elder was fighting against another man in the air. Seeing the sky turn dark, he immediately knew what was going on. He calmly stepped on the wind vulture's back and let it descend into the clouds. The gigantic palm made of Jinqi almost grazed the wind vulture's body and shattered the clouds in that area. Shockwaves spread out in all directions, stirring up the sea of clouds. Where do you think you're going? The man in black robes, who hadn't joined the fight yet, swooped down from the clouds and blocked the wind vulture's way. The head elder's face darkened. He controlled the wind vulture and swooped down, trying to fight the man on the ground. A fierce gale roared, and the ant-sized mountains on the ground quickly enlarged. When the wind vulture was still thousands of meters away from the ground, a gigantic palm made of Jinqi swooped down at an even faster speed. The wind vulture was indeed a fifth-level beast. It flapped its wings and sped up once again, drawing an arc in the air and barely dodging the gigantic Jinqi palm. At last, the wind vulture successfully landed on a mountain peak that was flat and stable. The three of you, don't split up. Han Shan released the silver light thunderbolt bomb at the critical moment. The great elder ordered as he stomped on the ground. Lu Hanshan nodded seriously, then said to Yi Chen and Su Jing, "Don't worry, we'll just stand aside and watch. They can't do anything to us." Yi Chen, on the other hand, was not too worried. The sect had given them a lot of life-saving treasures when they went on such a long journey. As for the silver light thunderbolt bomb that the great elder mentioned, although he had never heard of it before, it was definitely not an ordinary item for the great elder to value it so much. Boom! The mountain peak shook. The great elder and the middle-aged man in black robes had already started fighting. Both of them were powerful late-clasping Yuan realm martial artists. Every single move of theirs could shake a mountain. Some beasts that were startled by the fight were smashed into meat paste by the fierce chi of the two of them before they could even run away. On the other side, the fourth elder and the wind vulture were fighting against the other two middle-aged men in black robes. Although the fourth elder was not as powerful as the great elder, he was still a late-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, and the martial skill he had used was a mid-rank earth realm palm art, the sky-burning palm, which was able to burn everything in its path. The wind vulture was only as powerful as a mid-clasping Yuan realm martial artist, which was not as powerful as the fourth elder, but it had a super-fast speed, which allowed it to keep the fourth elder occupied. The fight between the five of them and the beast had nothing to do with Yi Chen and the other two. Lu Hanshan sighed and said, "The Ghost Corpse Mountain couldn't wait any longer. It seems that the ghost artist's recovery time is getting closer and closer." The ghost artist? Yi Chen and Su Jing both looked at Lu Hanshan. Lu Hanshan explained, "Once upon a time, there was a powerful martial institution in the South Shui region, called the Nine Ghost Cult. The Nine Ghost Cult had 108 ghost warriors under its leadership, and the ghost artist was one of them. Later on, the Nine Ghost Cult became more and more ambitious. They wanted to unify the entire South Shui region and enslave all the other martial institutions. As a last resort, all the other martial institutions joined hands and started a war against the Nine Ghost Cult, which lasted for years. 20 years ago, the Nine Ghost Cult was finally wiped out. All the powerful martial artists of the Nine Ghost Cult were either killed or escaped. The ghost artist's injury should have been caused by that time. How could such a thing happen? Yi Chen had never heard anything about the Nine Ghost Cult. Of course, this had something to do with his experience. Many people in the martial world might have heard about it. However, this Nine Ghost Cult was way too powerful. It was able to fight against all the martial institutions in the South Shui region by itself. It must be at least rank 5. Yi Chen was shocked. Su Jing asked, "How is the ghost artist's power?" Lu Hanshan gave a bitter smile and responded, "He was at the late astral reaching realm when he was at his peak, and now he should be at the early astral reaching realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to wipe out the evil Earth Martial School in one night. Hearing him, both Su Jing and Yi Chen gasped silently. A late astral reaching realm martial artist. A martial artist at this level could easily destroy 1,000 Zhangtal mountain with a single move, while a clasping Yuan realm martial artist could only destroy 100-meter tall mountain. The two of them were not even on the same level. If the ghost artist recovered his full power, not to mention a single martial institution, even if all 5 of the top martial institutions joined hands, they might not be able to escape the fate of being wiped out. The power gap between them was way too huge, and couldn't be made up by numbers. Heavenly Ghost Seal. Purple Light Finger. High up in the air, a hill-sized, gray-black Zhenqi hand clashed against a thin and long beam of purple light. The air was instantly pushed apart like waves, and the aftermath of the collision was powerful enough to kill an ordinary early clasping Yuan realm martial artist. As for condensing reality realm martial artists, they would all be killed. Right at this moment, Yi Chen sensed a slight swishing sound coming from all directions. Someone is coming. The 3 of them stood on top of a mountain and looked down. Soon, they saw hundreds of black dots gathering towards this mountain at an extremely high speed. Let's fight. Lu Hanzhan seemed to be very calm. After about 10 blinks of an eye, the first man in black appeared on top of the mountain. His Zhenqi vibration was very strong. He was an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist. Kill! He gave a vicious grin, then rushed towards the 3 of them without any hesitation. Lu Hanzhan shook his head, flicked his wrist and threw out a silver iron bomb, which swished across the air and bumped against the protective Zhenqi of the man in black. Boom! A scorching silver lightning bolt burst out, and the man in black was instantly blown into pieces, leaving a 10-meter deep pit on the ground. Yi Chen popped out his eyes. Silver Light Thunderbolt Bomb is way too powerful. An early clasping Yuan realm martial artist didn't even have a chance to fight back before he was blown into pieces. In other words, with a few Silver Light Thunderbolt bombs, an early clasping Yuan realm martial artist could be killed within a second. Lu Hanzhan said coldly, "We don't have many Silver Light Thunderbolt bombs. After we kill the more powerful ones, we'll take care of the rest." That's exactly what I wanted. Su Jing was already itching to join the fight. Soon, another 2 men in black rushed up. They were also early clasping Yuan realm martial artists. After all, only those with higher cultivation could fly in the front, while those with lower cultivation stayed behind. Boom! 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 Explosive sounds of the Silver Light Thunderbolt bombs rose one after another. Except for 1 man in black who was quick enough to dodge, all the other men in black had the same ending. They all died without even leaving a complete corpse. The man in black who had dodged was also hit by the aftermath of the explosion of the Silver Light Thunderbolt bomb and lost one of his legs. Great Monument Heavenly King Fist. Lu Hanzhan's eyes shone brightly as he threw out a punch. The gigantic Zhenqi fist gripped the purple monument and crushed that badly wounded man in black to death. Blood mist spread out in the air. At this moment, Lu Hanzhan's killing intent was completely released. He was no longer as gentle as before. He now looked like a god of slaughter. One after another, the other men in black rushed up the mountain. Pop! Pop! 2 fiery halos appeared behind Su Jing's head. She stomped on the ground and cracked it open. With each punch, she killed 2 late condensing reality realm men in black. Yi Chen wasn't slow either. He performed the sky cloud sword art together with the sword intent. His thick sword chi was almost like a cutting machine. Wherever the sword chi reached, the men in black would be cut in half, their intestines and internal organs spilled out, then turned into blood mist by the aftermath of the sword chi. Little brat, you're courting death. 2 peak-level late condensing reality realm men in black robes flashed and surrounded Yi Chen. They were much more powerful than ordinary men in black robes. They were no weaker than the #1 inner disciple of the Emerald Martial Palace, Qingjun. But of course, after reaching the late condensing reality realm, Yi Chen didn't see these men as weak opponents anymore. He didn't say a word. Instead, he used the sky cloud sword art together with the crane shadow steps, and dashed between the 2 men like a misty cloud. Puff! Puff! Two men's heads suddenly flew into the air, blood gushed out from their necks. Kill! 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 More and more men in black robes appeared on the mountain. Among them were ordinary men in black robes, some were as powerful as Qing Jun. There were even one or two child-to-be level men in black robes. Fortunately, all of the clasping Yuan realm men in black robes had been killed by Lu Hanshan's silver light thunderbolt bombs. Otherwise, even if the three of them managed to resist for a while, they wouldn't be able to survive. Top heaven. Facing the great pressure, Su Jing finally burst out her hidden power. She activated the 9th level of the Golden 3 Realm Art, and a dazzling fiery halo appeared behind her head. It was half the size of a human, shining with a golden light, making her look like a female warrior from the ancient times. Three men in black robes, who wanted to sneakily attack Su Jing, didn't even have the time to react before they were killed by Su Jing's fierce fist power. Their backs even exploded. The power of the 9th level of the Golden 3 Realm Art was unimaginably powerful. Lu Hanshan had also activated the extreme purple art to the 9th level. A stream of purple chi appeared behind his back, extending into the air like a bridge, increasing his fighting power. At this moment, he launched the Great Monument Heavenly King Fist, which made him almost invincible. Wherever he went, all the men in black robes would be killed without being able to fight back. Even a child-to-be level man in black robes was knocked back by Lu Hanshan's 3 punches. Yi Chen's Zhenqi cultivation was not as good as the other two, but he had the pure jade body boosting spell. Half a month ago, he had already reached the 5th level of the spell, the golden jade body. With only the defensive power of his body, even those child-to-be level men in black robes would not be able to hurt him. However, he still felt that it was not enough, so he activated the pure Jun Zhenqi to protect himself, which meant that he now had 2 layers of defense, one inside and one outside. Chapter 135. Puff! One of the black-clothed men held a long blade and hacked on the protective chi layer, causing the protective chi layer to dim down. Yi Chen didn't even turn his head around, he only swung the hidden cloud sword backwards. The sword chi released from the sword immediately cut off the black-clothed man's head and sent it flying in all directions. Kill this little bastard, he has mastered the half-step sword intent, we can't let him live. Indeed, kill him, the Ghost General will definitely reward us, maybe he will teach us even more advanced martial skills. Kill! The 3 of them had killed nearly 20 black-clothed men, but the number of black-clothed men on the mountaintop had increased. Almost every second, 2 or 3 black-clothed men would rush up to the mountaintop and join the battle. 7 or 8 of them had their eyes fixed on Yi Chen, their eyes were shining with a gray light and filled with a strong killing intent. Corpse King Fist. 10 flashes of Ghost Shadow. Crazy Devil Blade Art. Ghost God Grab. All of the black-clothed men released waves of fierce chi, attacking towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen took a step forward, creating a few huge cracks on the ground. He raised the hidden cloud sword high with his right hand, slightly prepared himself, then swung it down. Limitless Cloud. Puff! The thick sword chi cut apart all of those fierce chi waves, but the remaining power of the sword chi didn't disappear, it flashed through the group of black-clothed men. Puff, 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 the bodies of the 3 black-clothed men who were standing in the middle of the group were suddenly torn into pieces and scattered on the ground. The other black-clothed men were also affected by the sword chi, their protective Zhenqi was shattered and blood spurted out of their mouths. All devils fall. On the other side, Su Jing had used all of her Zhenqi. She shook both of her fists and sent out a bright golden light. All of the black-clothed men within a 5-zhang radius started vomiting blood and fell on the ground, none of them could stand up again. Great Monument Suppression. Seeing more and more men in black, Luo Hanshan finally gave up on consuming his Zhenqi. Purple smoke burst out from his body, while he clasped his hands together and smashed down. Instantly, a 10-meter-tall purple monument smashed down, smashing 4 men in black into pieces. A faint purple shockwave spread out and sent all the other men in black flying away, vomiting blood. High up in the sky, The eyes of the leader of the black-robed men were about to burst into flames when he saw this scene. He slapped the air with his palm, and a huge grayish-black hand of Jinqi that was dozens of meters wide covered a small half of the mountain. It enveloped Yi Chen and the other black-robed men, wanting to kill them all. Ah! Run! The black-robed men on the mountain peak felt as if their minds were being torn apart. They flew in all directions like birds and beasts. Rumble! The ground sank by 3 feet. Most of the black-clothed men failed to escape. They were smashed into blood mist by the pressure of the Jinqi giant hand, and not even their bones were left. Yi Chen and the other 2 were bleeding from their 7 apertures. They were overwhelmed with shock. This palm strike was launched from over 1,000 meters away. Before it even landed, they were already unable to withstand it. If it had landed, they would have died. At this moment, Lu Hanshan roared out in anger. Break! A longan-sized crystal ball appeared in his hand. It was completely transparent and contained a bright red light. At first glance, one would even think that the crystal ball was blue. Being injected with his Jinqi, the crystal ball was shattered. In the next moment, the red light dazzled and formed a 1-foot-thick, semicircular light shield around the 3 of them. Streams of air had been rotating inside the shield. Boom! The gigantic Jinqi giant hand pressed on the light shield, causing a creaking noise. It seemed that the light shield would shatter at any moment and turn the 3 of them into meat paste. However, the light shield eventually lasted, and gradually destroyed the gigantic Jinqi giant hand. What is this? A strange look flashed across Yi Chen's eyes. The longan-sized red crystal ball taken out by Lu Hanshan was almost exactly the same as his blue crystal ball, except for its color. His blue crystal ball was given to him by Yi Hai. Could it be that the red crystal ball and the blue crystal ball had the same origin, and both of them had the effect of shattering the light shield? What was the name of the crystal ball? Did Yi Hai know about its effect? All of a sudden, many thoughts flashed across Yi Chen's mind, but he didn't ask Lu Hanshan about it. Seeing that his attack did not kill the 3 of them, a shocked expression flashed across the middle-aged man's face. With his late clasping Yuan realm cultivation, even from 1,000 meters away, he could easily kill 3 early clasping Yuan realm martial artists with a single attack, not to mention 3 late condensing reality realm martial artists. However, that layer of light shield that appeared later was way too powerful. It had forcibly destroyed the huge Jinqi palm, making him fail. Purple light paradise. The head elder was still scared. If he had been killed by the mysterious man just now, he wouldn't even know how to explain to the leader of the school. Fortunately, Lu Hanshan had quite a lot of treasures with him, which helped him survive. Thinking of this, the head elder activated his Jinqi and shot out a purple beam of light. The middle-aged man in black robes paused slightly, but fortunately, he reacted fast enough. He moved his body 3 feet to the side and dodged that purple beam of light. Puff! A thumb-sized hole appeared on the mountaintop, which was immeasurably deep. 90% of the power of the light shield had been consumed when it was fighting against the gigantic Jinqi giant hand. After a while, the light shield became thinner and thinner, turning into pure Yuan Qi and merging with the air. Lu Hanshan wiped the sweat off his forehead. What happened just now was way too dangerous. Fortunately, Luo Xinglia had given him a Yuan light ball before he came here. Yuan light ball was found in a part of the ruins of a super-powerful rank 5 martial institution, the puppet school, which was located 5,000 years ago, along with the method of making wooden puppets. Are you alright? Lu Hanshan turned around and asked. Yi Chen had a strong body. That palm attack had only squeezed out wisps of blood from his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears, but hadn't injured him at all. Su Jing was protected by the Golden 3 Realm Art, so she was also fine. That's good. Looking around, Yi Chen found that only a few of those men in black robes were still alive. Most of them had been smashed to death by the middle-aged man in black robes in the air. Of course, this was the best outcome for them, otherwise, it would be very troublesome to kill them all. After all, they were only late condensing reality realm warriors, and their Jinqi was very limited. They could still fight for a short period of time, but if they fought for a long period of time, they would have problems. They did have some Jinqi replenishing pills, and they had already taken quite a few of them. If they continued to take more, their Jinqi would be greatly reduced, and it would also easily cause the Jinqi to be mixed up. Therefore, they shouldn't take too many pills within a day. After killing the rest of the men in black robes, the three of them each took out a low-rank soul stone and started absorbing the yuan qi contained in it to replenish their own Jin qi. Caw! The fight between the Wind Vulture and the man in black robes was very fast, mainly because of the Wind Vulture's fast speed. The Wind Vulture circled around the man in black robes, trying to tear him apart with its claws. The man in black robes was able to deal with all kinds of attacks by remaining calm, and whenever he found a flaw, he would launch a thick blade qi, which nearly injured the Wind Vulture. No, this Wind Vulture is way too fast. By the time I launch my blade attack, it would have already increased the distance between us. If we keep fighting like this, we won't be able to finish it within a short period of time. The man in black robes had already seen what was happening on the mountain, and he knew that he had to make a decision. The blade qi attack failed again, and a fierce look flashed across the man's face. He stared at the Wind Vulture, and stood still in the air. The Wind Vulture flashed in the air for a few times, and after a few turns, it jumped towards the man from the left. It was as fast as a lightning bolt, and its speed was almost as fast as the speed of sound. Puff! This time, it was much easier than before. The Wind Vulture easily broke the man's protective Jin qi, and the sharp tip of its claws had already pierced into the man's body. The man in black robes was about to be torn into pieces. Die! The man in black robes turned his body sideways and launched a blade attack on the Wind Vulture's body. Blood splashed down like a rain of blood. The Wind Vulture screamed in pain and fell down. Hee, today is the day you die. The man in black robes didn't even have the time to launch another blade attack. Instead, he released his Jin qi and arrived on the mountaintop within a few blinks of an eye. Great Monument Suppression. Shocking Cloud Limitless. All Devils Fall. A gigantic purple monument, a thick stream of sword qi, and a dazzling golden light, all three attacked towards the man in black robes simultaneously. It was Yi Chen and the other two who had launched the attack. The moment they launched the attack, they quickly stepped back. It's useless. The man in black robes slightly waved his long blade, and the purple monument was broken into pieces, the sword qi was shattered, and the golden light dissipated. The man in black robes didn't even have the slightest power to fight back. However, this was all part of their plan. Not knowing when, 4 silver iron balls appeared around the man in black robes. Each of these silver balls had a faintly discernible thread of Jin qi connected to Lu Hanshan's body. Boom! Along with Lu Hanshan's growl, 4 silver lightning bolts dazzled simultaneously and wrapped the man in black robes up, eventually forming a gigantic silver lightning ball. The lightning ball was thickly covered with silver snakes, letting out a sizzling noise. Even from a long distance away, Yi Chen could feel his fine hair standing straight up and his scalp going numb. It turned out that Lu Hanshan had already thrown 4 silver light thunderbolt bombs on the mountaintop, forming a large square formation. Afterwards, he and the other two were also in the middle of the square formation. In case someone attacked, they could retreat in time and launch a fatal attack. However, they didn't expect that the man in black robes would attack first. This man was slightly weaker than the other two, he was at the peak of the mid-clasping Yuan realm. His opponent was the Wind Vulture. Except for its great speed, it obviously couldn't do any harm to the man in black robes. Instead, it was set up by the man in black robes and was badly injured, falling down from the mountaintop. Silver light thunderbolt bombs can kill peak-level early condensing reality realm martial artists and injure mid-condensing reality realm martial artists. Although I've set up 4 of them, they are still too far away. I don't think they will be able to kill him. I should be careful. Lu Hanshan looked very cautious. He had already used up the last 4 silver light thunderbolt bombs. If they still couldn't kill the man in black robes, then he would have to risk his life. His Jin qi surged out of his body, he was ready for a great fight. The 3 fiery rings behind Su Jing's head grew even brighter, and her eyes looked even sharper. At the same time, Yi Chen had already concentrated all of his power and qi into a single point. He was planning to launch a fatal attack on the man with the heart refining. He believed that the man in black robes wouldn't be injured by the explosion of 4 silver light thunderbolt bombs. As long as the man was injured, Yi Chen's heart refining would definitely be able to further injure him, maybe even kill him with a single attack. Pop! The silver lightning ball shattered, revealing the man in black robes. His entire body was scorched black, the color of his skin could no longer be seen. Cyan smoke was still rising from some of the large wounds on his body, along with the smell of grilled meat. Bastard! I want you to die without a proper burial. The man in black robes slightly moved his body, then he tried to spurt out blood from his mouth, but the blood seemed to have been evaporated by the electric current, only a puff of white smoke came out. He raised his head and stared at the 3 people with his devil-like blood-red eyes. Chapter 136. Puff! The first one to launch the attack was Yi Chen. He wielded his sword and released a thick stream of sword qi, which transformed into a beam of white light and instantly hit the assassin's body. However, this sword attack only left a bone-deep mark on the assassin's body, but failed to penetrate deep. A layer of blood-red light emerged from under the assassin's skin, which not only blocked the sword qi from penetrating into his body, but also destroyed the sword qi in a flash. Then came Su Jing's devil-suppressing fist power. The dazzling golden light struck on that layer of blood-red light like a waterfall, causing muffled popping noises. East-rising purple qi, great monument suppression. The bridge-like purple mist poured into his body. Lu Hanshan growled out, clasped his hands together and smashed towards the assassin. Instantly, the gigantic monument, which was shining with a purple light, suddenly pressed down, seeming to shatter the blood-red light and shatter the assassin into pieces. Bang! However, the purple monument was the one that shattered in the end. The black-clothed swordsman's scorched skin started to crack, and a bloody light came out from the cracks. It was rich and red, like the magma underground. It was abnormally eye-catching. The purple steel was hit by the bloody light and immediately melted, turning into pure yuan qi. At this moment, 2 beams of blood-red light darted out from the assassin's eyes. He grinned viciously and said, "Let's die together." The blood devil body separating magic. Rumble. The thunderous sound was not made by the assassin, instead, it was the sound of the mountain collapsing. It turned out that after the explosion of the 4 silver light thunderbolt bombs, the area where the assassin was standing was already showing signs of breaking. Then, after being struck by the sword qi, the fist power and the purple monument, the mountain finally broke, falling down the mountain along with the assassin, disappearing within a blink of an eye. In the next moment, a thunderous sound came out, and the mountain, which was supposed to be stable, tilted to one side. Obviously, it was broken by the assassin's self-explosion. How powerful was that? Fortunately, all 3 of them knew how to fly for a short period of time, so they leapt up into the air. The 3 of them looked down. The mountain had collapsed, the airflow was chaotic, and countless broken rocks had completely buried the assassin, forming a small hill-sized pile of rocks. So dangerous. I didn't think that he had also learned the blood devil body separating magic. Lu Hanshan was still a little scared. Yi Chen said, Daoist Master Blood Demon is also one of the ghost generals of the 9 evil cult. Indeed, Master Blood Demon is ranked even higher than Corpse Man among the 108 ghost warriors of the 9 ghost cult. 50 years ago, he was a core disciple of the Evil Blood Martial School. Later on, he left the Evil Blood Martial School and joined the 9 ghost cult. His power is world-shaking, and he is called Master Blood Demon. Yi Chen had already become numb to the power of the 9 ghost cult. Just 108 ghost warriors were already this powerful, so there must be even more powerful leaders above them. However, he did not know how many of them had died, and how many of them had survived. He also did not know if those who had survived were like the Corpse Man, trying to make a comeback. Retreat. Seeing that the black-clothed bladesman was dead, the black-clothed leader knew that he could not do anything to the Flowing Cloud sect. He knocked back the first elder with a palm strike and shouted coldly at another person. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them were extremely powerful. Although they couldn't defeat the first elder and the fourth elder, it was still very easy for them to escape. In the blink of an eye, they were already several miles away. The fourth elder was about to give chase, but was stopped by the first elder. Don't chase a cornered enemy, not to mention that even if you catch up with them, you won't be able to do anything to them. Great, these two should be the top-grade ghost guards of the Ghost Corpse Mountain, right? The fourth elder had been fighting for a long time, his blood was boiling, he couldn't wait to start another fight. The first elder said, on the 8th of August, there will be a lot of fights, I'm just afraid that you might get bored. How come? The two of them flashed across the air and arrived next to Yi Chen and the other two. Seeing the three of them safe and sound, the first elder let out a sigh of relief, nodded and said, not bad, being able to survive such a dangerous fight, when we go back, we will definitely be able to reach a higher level. Lu Hanshan asked, First Elder, what is going on? Is the Ghost Corpse Mountain preparing to launch an attack on those top-grade institutions? The first elder said, not yet, I think they are just trying to weaken the powers of those institutions. However, we don't know how long this situation can last. Perhaps, in 1 or 2 years, the corpse man will be able to recover his peak power, and that will be the time when the war starts. 1 or 2 years, it's too urgent. Lu Hanshan frowned. The fourth elder grinned and said, even if the sky falls down, there will always be someone taller to hold it up. The Emerald Martial Palace is even more anxious than us. Not to mention, no matter how powerful the Ghost Corpse Mountain is, we don't have to be afraid of them. Every top-grade institution has a great elder who is in a life-or-death training. Once the institution faces a crisis, they will definitely come out. Great elder. Yi Chen's heart skipped a beat. Judging from the fourth elder's tone, he seemed to be even more powerful than the leader of the institution. Wasn't that an astral-reaching realm martial artist? No wonder the Ghost Corpse man didn't dare to offend the 5 top-grade institutions, and was even hiding in the shadows. He must be afraid that the great elders of those top-grade institutions would come and hunt him down. The few of them didn't forget about the Wind Vulture, they started to search for it together. Next to a pile of rocks, the Wind Vulture was lying on the ground, with a horrifying blade wound on its body. It was bleeding profusely. At the moment, it was trying to stand up, but the wound was way too severe. The head elder sighed, he took out tens of bottles of medicine from his storage ring, unplugged the corks and activated his Jin Qi. He mixed the bottles of medicine together and sprinkled them evenly on the Wind Vulture's wound. Visibly, the bleeding stopped, and the flesh and blood began to wriggle, as if they were going to merge together. We shouldn't stay here for long. Let's find a place to settle down first. The institution will send another Wind Vulture to pick us up. While talking, the storage ring on the head elder's finger flashed with a dim light, and a wooden crow appeared in his hand. The crow was made from hundreds of pieces of black wood, and looked very lifelike. Its eyeballs were like soybean-sized gems, shining brightly. Crack! The head elder pressed some kind of button, and a hole appeared on the crow's belly, which seemed to be a groove. A milky white soul stone was stuffed into the crow's belly by the head elder. If Yi Chen guessed it right, this must be a precious mid-rank soul stone, which was equal to 50 low-rank soul stones. The wooden crow's eyes shone with a red light, it flapped its wings and flew towards the Sky Cloud Martial School. Seeing Yi Chen's expression, the head elder smiled and explained, this is a puppet crow, one of the creations of the Puppet Martial School, which was a rank 5 institution 5,000 years ago. It can travel over 30,000 miles a day, only a little bit slower than the Wind Vulture. Its power source is soul stones, but they must be mid-rank soul stones, low-rank soul stones can't support it for long. Can it know the way? Yi Chen asked. The head elder shook his head and responded, this is confidential, I can't tell you. The group of people settled down in a city thousands of miles away. 3 days and 4 nights later, people from the Sky Cloud Martial School arrived, and it wasn't just 1 or 2 of them. A large group of inner elders rode on 4 wind vultures. They boarded the wind vultures and headed for the Sky Cloud Martial School that very night. Under the waterfall, a man was sitting on a huge rock with his legs crossed. The man's upper body was naked, and his muscular back was as straight as a sword, full of indescribable sharpness. No matter how hard the waterfall slammed on his back, it couldn't make him bend even a little bit. Rumble. The sound of the waterfall seemed to be getting louder and louder, it even resounded for miles. Right at this moment, the man raised his right arm. He didn't seem to use much of his strength, but the waterfall suddenly rose up into the sky, forming a huge water sword, shining with a colorful light under the sunlight. It was dazzling. Go! With a cold shout, the huge water sword pierced towards the mountain next to him. Crack! A huge hole was created on the solid mountain, and the huge water sword also shattered into pieces, turning back into water and gushing out of the hole. Phew! The man slowly let out a breath, turned around and stood up. It was Yi Chen. He smiled. It had been a couple of days since he had returned to the Sky Cloud Martial School. During these days, he didn't do anything but cultivate under the waterfall. Today, he had finally made a breakthrough. Originally, with his cultivation, he wouldn't be able to turn a waterfall into a huge water sword. He would need to be at least a clasping Yuan realm martial artist to do so, because only clasping Yuan realm martial artists could have such a great amount of Jin Qi. However, with the help of his half-step sword intent, which was infinitely close to the sword intent, he had succeeded. After a while, the smile on Yi Chen's face disappeared, and he let out a long sigh. Learning the sword intent is way more difficult than I thought. Without any opportunities, I would probably be stuck in this level for a long time. I really don't know how I can learn it. Yi Chen could almost feel the existence of the sword intent. It was like a great sword in the room, and all he needed to do was to open the door curtain slightly, then he would be able to go in and take the sword out for his own use. However, although he could see the existence of the curtain and the great sword, he felt like he was in a dream, as he could not touch the curtain at all. Every time he tried to touch the curtain, he would only touch the air. The more impatient he was, the harder it would be to touch it. Sometimes, Yi Chen even thought that it was an illusion, and that he was not actually close to the sword intent. However, he denied it. Although the mirror flower water moon was an illusion, there was no real flower and moon, so how could it be real? Although he couldn't learn the sword intent, Yi Chen wasn't disappointed. Some things couldn't be begged for. When the time was right, it would naturally appear in front of him. Of course, other than the problem of the sword intent, everything else went smoothly. In these few days, Yi Chen had not only stabilized his late condensing reality realm cultivation, he had also completely digested all the experience he had gained in the past few days and turned it into his own fighting power. The Sky Cloud Sword Art, the Tyrant Fist Art and the Crane Shadow Steps, these 3 martial arts that he had been using for a long time had been upgraded to the next level. He could now use them as he pleased, without any restrictions. Now, even if Yi Chen didn't use the one sword art, he could still fight against Sherpatian, who had trained 2 powerful martial arts. This was undoubtedly a huge improvement. Sherpatian was a well-known child-level martial artist. Being able to fight against him meant that Yi Chen's pure power had also reached the child level. He was almost at the peak of the young generation in the Windy Nation. If he used the one sword art, perhaps only young Master North Snow, young Master Duanmu and Fast Blade Lynch would be able to compete with him. Of course, it would be best if he didn't use the one sword art. After all, his own power was the most important thing. Chapter 137. Ah! Brother Yi, we didn't know you were here. Just as Yi Chen was thinking, 3 female disciples appeared not far away. They were all about 13 or 14 years old, looking very energetic. Seeing Yi Chen's naked upper body, they immediately turned their heads away with blushing faces. Yi Chen forced a smile. In his world, a naked man was not a big deal, but this world was different. His storage ring shone with a dim light, and clean clothes appeared in his hand. After putting on the clothes, Yi Chen asked, "Are you looking for a place to train?" "Yeah." Brother Yi, why are you taking a bath here? The round-faced female disciple was the cutest among them. She was the only one who did not turn her head away, but the other two covered her eyes. I am training. If you don't mind, I will let you have this place. After saying that, Yichen jumped up and landed on top of the waterfall. After a couple of flashes, he disappeared without a trace. Ah, I told you that Brother Yi is a nice guy, but you didn't believe me. Hee, Brother Yi has a nice body, and he is very powerful. Sister disciples, why did Brother Yi run away? Going to the floating cloud palace once every 3 days had become a habit of Yichen's. Actually, he did not have to take on a mission every time he went there, but he could see some of the big and small things happening in the Windy Nation from the mission list, which was much better than not knowing what was going on outside. Passing by the ranking jade wall, Yichen turned his head to take a look. His name was still the first on the third row, and the first and second rows were the 24 core disciples. Of course, if he wanted to, he could become a core disciple anytime he wanted, and his ranking would be very high, at least in the top 4. However, he did not plan to do so yet, because he did not have much confidence in fighting against the hidden scent sword Zhu Mei, unless he performed the one-sword attack. If I can't become the number 1 core disciple, then there is no point. Shaking his head, Yichen was about to enter the floating cloud palace. Look, Brother Meng Chong is back. I heard that he took on a 3-star black rank mission this time. It seems like he has already completed it. Compared to the inner disciple ranking competition, Senior Brother Meng Chong has improved a lot. I wonder how he compares to Senior Brother Yichen. The surrounding inner disciples discussed among themselves, and their gazes were focused on Meng Chong, who had just returned. Meng Chong didn't care that he had become the center of attention. He said to Yichen, who was standing at the entrance of the floating cloud palace, "Let's fight on the Martial Plaza. I hope you can improve." Yichen turned around. As you wish. Not challenging others was one thing, but when someone came to challenge you, you generally wouldn't refuse. Furthermore, even if you refused, you had to have a good reason. Otherwise, if everyone refused, then what would be the point of the ranking jade wall? There would be no competition. As soon as he finished speaking, the surroundings boiled over. Senior Brother Meng Chong is fighting against Senior Brother Yichen again. Shocking news. Quickly go inform the other senior brothers and junior brothers. It's been more than a month, and both senior brothers have improved. The duel will definitely be more exciting. It seems like Senior Brother Meng Chong doesn't plan to become a core disciple if he doesn't defeat Senior Brother Yichen. Soon, most of the Sky Cloud Martial School's inner disciples had heard about this news. Without saying anything, they immediately rushed to the Martial Plaza. Within a short period of time, the Martial Plaza was filled with thousands of people. Among them, 200 to 300 were inner disciples who didn't go to do any tasks. Outer disciples made up 80% of the crowd, and a few core disciples were also there. They all wanted to see how powerful Yichen and Meng Chong were. On the central platform, Yichen and Meng Chong slowly walked onto the platform. I haven't seen you for more than a month. If your improvement is not obvious, then I am afraid you will lose to me. Meng Chong's aura was even more reserved. Yichen glanced at his opponent, shook his head and said, "You have indeed improved, but you are getting further and further away from me." Ha! Meng Chong sneered, "You will know after the duel. You will take back your words." A gust of wind blew, Yichen's clothes and hair were fluttering in the wind. He said, "Let's begin." Chin. Taking out his long blade, Meng Chong stomped on the ground and flew towards Yichen like a lightning. Blood light. On his way, Meng Chong held his long blade with both of his hands and quickly waved it. Because of his fast speed, his arms seemed to have disappeared into the air. Only the blood-red blade light could be seen, covering the entire platform and completely sealing the space where Yichen was. He couldn't back out, he couldn't move forward, and he couldn't dodge. There was only one way left, which was to fight. So powerful. I wonder how Senior Brother Yichen is going to fight. I guess he will have to fight. If senior brother Meng Chong was as powerful as he is now, he would definitely be the #1 inner disciple again. Of course, if he beats senior brother Yi Chen this time, he will still be the #1 inner disciple. It can't be that easy. Senior brother Yi Chen has been to the Emerald Martial Palace, he has seen a lot of things. How could he not have improved? Most of the people still didn't know that Yi Chen had beaten Qing Jun and Shirpatian. Only those core disciples knew a little bit about it. Of course, in a day or two, Yi Chen's story would definitely be spread out. How big of a commotion would it cause? When the blood-red blade light reached its peak, Yi Chen threw out his sword. Shoo! No one saw how Yi Chen threw out his sword. They only saw a thin white line of sword chi flash across. Yi Chen's figure had already passed through the blood-red blade light and appeared behind Meng Chong. Dang! Swoosh! The long blade flew out of Meng Chong's hand and stabbed into a stone pillar. It was not over yet. Meng Chong's clothes had also been cut open. The cut was extremely small. Putting the hidden cloud sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen said lightly, "Your blade skill is not bad. Unfortunately, I have already reached a higher level. You will not be able to compete with me anymore. Too powerful, way too powerful. I didn't even have the slightest chance to fight back. Even now, I, Meng Chong, am still not his opponent. I wouldn't have believed it before, but now I have no choice but to believe it, because it has already happened, and it happened to me." Meng Chong's heart was filled with shock. He stood there, stunned. Not only Meng Chong was stunned, all of the inner and outer disciples' eyes were blank, and their mouths were wide open, unable to close. Everyone was completely silent. When they came back to their senses, Yi Chen had already left the Martial Plaza. Damn! What did I just see? Senior brother Yi Chen beat senior brother Meng Chong with only one sword attack. How powerful does he have to be able to do that? What an overwhelming advantage. The gap is so huge. Among all the inner disciples, no one can threaten senior brother Yi Chen's position anymore. Just thinking about it makes my scalp numb. Senior brother Meng Chong beat the top 10 inner disciples with only one sword attack, but senior brother Yi Chen beat Meng Chong with only one sword attack. Hearing the inner disciples' discussions, the few core disciples who were watching the fight looked at each other. Time flew by like water. Another 20 days had passed. It was already August. During this time, Yi Chen had never stopped improving. His Zhenqi cultivation was getting closer to the peak of the late condensing reality realm, and was not far away from Lu Hanshan and the others. As for his sword skills, even he himself didn't know what level he had reached. Perhaps, he would only be able to find out if he fought against some child-level young martial artists. Compared to his personal improvement, something big had happened in the Windy Nation. One of the top 5 institutions, the Purple Sun Martial School, had a spy. This spy was an inner elder, but his real identity was actually a powerful warrior under the command of the Ghost Corpse man. He had been hiding in the Purple Sun Martial School for 15 years, but recently, for some unknown reason, he had betrayed the Purple Sun Martial School and killed an inner elder and 3 outer elders, which had shocked all the powerful forces in the Windy Nation. Yi Chen didn't know what had happened, but the core members of all the institutions knew it clearly. The plan to encircle the Ghost Corpse Mountains branch on the 8th of August had failed, and the reason was because of that spy from the Purple Sun Martial School. He knew that they were going to encircle the Ghost Corpse Mountains branch, so he secretly sent a message to the Ghost Corpse Mountain. But he didn't expect that he would be discovered by another inner elder, and then a fight broke out between them. After that, 3 outer elders came to help, and 4 of them fought against 1. However, this spy was indeed powerful, he killed all 4 of them within a short period of time. In the main hall of the Sky Cloud Martial School. At this moment, all the inner elders were discussing something else. "Leader, the Heavenly Dream Ancient Region is about to open in October, we should also decide which disciples will participate in it, so that we can prepare in advance." The one who spoke was the 4th elder. Luo Xinglie glanced at the crowd and asked, "Do you have any good suggestions?" The head elder cleared his throat and said, the Heavenly Dream Ancient Region only opens once every 10 years, it's a rare opportunity. After each trial, nearly 1/10 of the young generation will step into the Clasping Yuan realm, therefore, we have to send our best disciples. Of course, our Sky Cloud Martial School is only a rank 9 institution, we only have 4 quotas. Therefore, I think Zhu Mei and Luo Hanshan must go, plus Su Jing. What about the other one? Someone frowned. The fourth elder said, I think Yi Chen is a good choice. The head elder nodded, he had the same idea. Hearing him, a few inner elders immediately shook their heads. Although Yi Chen is very talented, and he has already comprehended the half-step sword intent, he is obviously not as powerful as the others. It doesn't make sense to let him go. You're right, the Heavenly Dream Ancient Region is an ancient place, every quota is extremely precious, how can we waste it? We have to send the disciples who have the opportunity to break into the Clasping Yuan realm. I think Tao Xiaofeng, who is ranked 3rd among the core disciples, is a good choice. Jing Ju, who is ranked 4th, is also a good choice. The head elder glanced at the others and said, Tao Xiaofeng and Jing Ju are indeed good, but they are not the most talented ones. Even if they managed to step into the Clasping Yuan realm, they would only be considered as elites, they would not be able to kill people who are at a higher level than them. However, Yi Chen has already comprehended the half-step sword intent, he will definitely be able to comprehend the true sword intent one day. Once he steps into the Clasping Yuan realm, what do you think about his fighting power? This, the few who disagreed couldn't find any words to refute. At this moment, Luo Xinglie said, the Heavenly Dream Ancient Region is located in the desert between the 9 nations, hundreds of thousands of miles away from the Sky Cloud Martial School. Let's not waste any more time, let's leave in half a month. The quotas are Zhu Mei, Luo Hanshan, Su Jing, and Yi Chen. Hearing the last 2 words, the 4th elder and the head elder glanced at each other and smiled.